I go home.
Hey everybody, Chai Westport here, and I'm back with another edition of Just One Thing. It's where I go out into the grow community and talk with experienced growers about one thing they think all new growers should know about. And now, this is a special episode. It's kind of a cheat episode for me because I talked to Brandon and I said, "Hey, dude, please fill us in on capillary action." Uh, and you've gracefully agreed to that. So thank you very much, Brandon, and welcome.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me back on. It's an honor. It's always great to talk to you. Um, Talk about capillary action, talk about watering. Watering is probably one of the hardest things to teach people. And I think people think it's going to be easy, intuitively, and they end up struggling with it and overwatering more than underwatering, obviously. But in any cultivation setting, really the most skilled person there should be the person on the hose. It's the number one reason for crop loss. And so, I really am a stickler about training people to water the right way, learning how to do pot lifts. And then we try to teach them, do my little KIS plug, but I work for KIS Organics, and we're all about science-based actionable data. And so I like to try to give my guys and anybody I'm working with some information on how water actually works. One of the things that I think is not intuitive, we're used to seeing a glass of water, and a glass of water is going to fill when you fill it up from the bottom to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so with a plant, that's not how it works. I'm going to break out a whiteboard here, and hopefully you can see this here. We'll see how successful I can be doing this. But if you've got a glass and you fill it up, it's going to fill from the bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a pot and it has substrate in it, when it fills up, it's going to fill from the top. And the reason it fills from the top is there's two different actions going on in that pot. Gravity, which we expect, which normally you would think is going to bring your water down to the bottom and fill up from the bottom to the top like an empty glass would. However, hopefully you can see this. I'm going to try to do a little science experiment here.
Okay.
But if you take a sponge and you look at a sponge, you can see all the pores in it. We're going to use that for substrate as just a visual example. And so you've got a variety of large and small pores, and this sponge is uniformly dry right now, just visually. I'm bring it out. There's nothing in it. If I put it in this water down at the bottom, and I'm not submerging it, but you can instantly see I'm starting to pick up water.
Yeah.
Okay. That's capillary action. That is the water moving via capillary. It's an anti-gravitational force. It's moving up. But regardless of how long I keep it here, it's really not going much higher. And so that is your perched water table. It is where the forces of gravity and capillary action meet. And so for me, growing up, my mom's a horticulturalist, and she would have my twin brother and I pot stuff up with her, and you put a little bit of gravel in the bottom of a pot. Intuitively, that makes sense that if you do that, you'll get better drainage. Right. But what's really happening, I'll get this whiteboard out again. What's really happening when you do that, and I'll explain why this is important. Let's say this is 10 gallons.
Okay.
When you put,
I can't see the bottom. Sorry to interrupt you there. Just the bottom of the cup's cut off there. Oh, there you go. Okay, we see.
Sorry. Nope, sorry. So yeah, good call. But so if you put a bunch of rocks down here, all you've done is made your pot smaller. And the reason being, again, with the sponge example, it's going to hold on to that water. That water is going to sit here no matter what until more water gets added in. Gravity wins the fight and it percolates down. But that's not until you add more water. And so it's counterintuitive. You think that it's going to
Right.
drain out the bottom, but it's not. And so what you've done is literally taken your 10-gallon pot and turned it into a 7-gallon pot. But if you take two different substrates, let's say clay on top and sand on the bottom, that exact same thing's going to happen. And you would expect there to be some water getting caught in this less than porous clay.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really interesting is if you flip this, sand and clay, so the more porous substrate on top, the exact same thing happens. Now, sand has a lot less surface area and bigger pores, so it'll have a more shallow perched water table because it's all determined by pore size. And so rather than putting rocks in the bottom of the pot, you should just be working with some good porous, well-draining substrate. And, you know, that's the science behind it. That's why it doesn't work. When you know, this is another really kind of interesting thing. So, you know, we did the little experiment and we showed that the capillary action was going to take that water up to about here and then it was going to stop. Coincidentally, that is about the same width as this. So if I soak this in here, you know, get water in here and I lift it up, some water is going to pour out, but eventually it's going to stop. You know, there'll just be a couple of drops. So what's really interesting is as I make the pot taller, more water comes out.
Oh, wow.
And then we'll let this stop. Okay, and so I'm making it taller again. There's more water coming out. And then eventually this will stop and I could literally tilt it like this and it will kick in more water to be draining out. Wow. Okay, and so what's happening is I'm making the pot taller. Just like in the example on the whiteboard, I'm making the pot taller. And so it changes that pressure to saturation ratio. And so now gravity is, you know, on a really tall pot, gravity is losing, you know, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Gravity's winning. You know, gravity's pulling this water down. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. So gravity's winning. And then it gets to here and capillary starts to win. And so that perched water table will be the same regardless of how deep your pot is. It's still always just going to be that. And so all you're doing by putting rocks in the bottom of that pot is moving your substrate up and using less. That's why it's crucial to have large pore spaces and high porosity, big aggregate, big pumice. You know, I don't really like perlite because in organics, it just all floats away eventually because the perched water table is all about pore size. So the more small pores you have, the higher that perched water table will be. So, you know, that's kind of like where the limit of where your roots can go and be healthy. Roots are always going to chase water, you know, and so we fill that pot up. And the reason you put a lot of water when you repot is just to make sure that you've saturated that pot so that wherever the roots go looking, they're going to find water. But in the same way, and I think we talked about it the last time we spoke, you know, with cloning, with a cube, you let it dry down a little bit because you want those roots to go searching for water. They're going to go look for water, and that helps them, encourages them to come out. And it's the same kind of thing. Those roots will go find the water, but as the water drops in the profile, that's where the roots are going to head. They're going to head south.
And that's actually a perfect segue into you had mentioned KIS Organics earlier, and you not only work for them, you provide a lot of support for the customers, which is awesome and kind of a something that you don't find with a lot of companies. So take advantage of that. But I did want to mention the cannabis cultivation and science podcast, because
Thank
you
you.
were a guest on there, episode 95. I've watched it a few times myself. I encourage everybody watching this, go to the KIS Organics YouTube page and check out episode 95. Not only are you going to learn more about Brandon's background in the show notes, you'll be pretty freaking impressed. You'll be like, I was just listening to that guy. You're also going to hear him go through plant diagnosis. And I love the way that you two broke it down in this episode. And it's a valuable tool for anybody. And I want people to have the right tools. So leave my channel when you're done here
Awesome.
and
Thank
go over
you.
and check out the KIS Organics, the Cannabis Cultivation and Science podcast. So I do want people to check that out, but also you two
Very kind.
individually, you're on Instagram, the Tattoo Sadhu, and I'll spell it down there for everybody.
Yeah.
Not,
Good on the pronunciation. Great job.
thank you very much. And also, I'll throw out the KIS Organics Instagram here as well. I follow that. Definitely follow it. There's a lot of fun, like guess the plant problem today. I love playing along, and I love reading the answers because I'm going to learn something new every time. So, guys, go and check out the KIS Organic stuff, please. And anything that I missed there, or where people can find you, or things you think people should know about?
No, really, I think you covered it all. Tattoo Sadhu on Instagram, and you can get to me through the KIS website, or KIS. You can call me at KIS if you call the support line 425-558-0990. You'll get me. I do a lot of soil analysis and soil recommendations, and I get to talk to growers all day. It's awesome.
It's a great
Fantastic.
job. It's a great job, and you're the great guy for it. I enjoy learning from you, and I hope everybody did today too. Again, it's so important to understand the mechanisms and the how behind how watering
Yeah.
works. Capillary action. Who knew? Sponge. Perfect.
It's
Perfect visual.
not intuitive. It's not intuitive. It's I grew up doing it wrong for years, and when somebody first told me that this is not the way to do it, I was like, this it's got more holes. How could it not drain better? But capillary action.
Yep. Oh, cool. Right on. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in today, and we will catch you on the next one. So take care, everybody. Peace out.
1, 2, Westport!